So takeaway number one is that I think we're continuing to see the both the relevance and arguably the increasing relevance of the need to assess and validate knowledge. So the question that keeps ringing in my head when I see the examples of machine-assisted intelligence like AlphaGo is, how do we know AlphaGo is better than humans at Go? Well, we test it, right? We put a human with a machine and we make them play a game of Go. And that's how we validate it. But that's the only way we can assess or understand machine intelligence, is through some method of assessment and validation. And the one thing we can't do is assess knowledge or validate knowledge that can't be assessed. So if there's a machine intelligence that produces new knowledge for which we have no ability to validate or assess it, is it new knowledge? I'd argue it isn't, right? Knowledge can only be validated. And that is an old idea. That is an 18th century idea of the scientific revolution. It's what led to the creation of journals. It's what led to the creation of the scientific method for validating knowledge, right? Through replication. So assessment and validation, very important. Second takeaway is, I think what we're seeing in terms of the advancement of the technology should necessitate universities to be at the forefront of thinking critically about cognition and intelligence. And our colleagues in relevant fields, of course, are doing that, both human and synthetic. And that, I think, is a critical piece here. I jotted down a question. I don't know if I'll ask this because I don't think this is a question anyone can answer, but does AI match or exceed human intelligence, or does it simulate human intelligence? And does it matter if it's simulating human intelligence? At what point does it matter? Or what point does it not matter anymore? Last takeaway is about theories of technology and change over time, specifically to higher education for our purposes. Does technology disrupt and revolutionize education? Does it get assimilated into educational practice, learning and teaching practice? History of education shows much more continuity than disruption. Printing press was fairly revolutionary, I would say, for higher education. Took 200 or 300 years before it started to have a meaningful transformation of universities, which are old institutions that are about 800, 900 years old. The digital revolution arguably is still underway. The changes to higher education are still underway. And is artificial intelligence a novel technology, or is it part of a broader, decades-long and probably centuries-long transformation of the interaction between people and machines and how we generate knowledge? Was there any connection between those three thoughts? Who knows? But I'll turn it over to Pam to provide some remarks as well.
Okay, thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm going to take a slightly different tact, and I'm going to start with how I see myself in relationship to the technology, because as a planner, this matters to me. And so I want to say, first of all, I'm not a technology person. I'm a simple urban planner working at a downtown Toronto university, trying to understand how the future is going to change the way we live together in communities. Sorry. And so I'm curiosity-based in my engagement, but I'm not coming at this as a trained computer scientist or as a philosopher. I'm coming at this as a practitioner of work that shapes how we live together in real places with real people. So when I'm working with these tools in my classroom, I'm bringing my camp counselor self to the space. We're playing with tools, we're hacking, we're playing around with things, we're challenging them, we're using them experimentally, but the goal is to work together with students to see how something new can or can't work. We're also engaging in choice in the classroom. We're trying to figure out, we're not starting with the proposition that we should be using these tools all the time. I'm not fetishizing it and making it all about my teaching. We're trying to figure out what's the role this technology may or may not, and reserving the or not option in the classroom, because my ethical code of practice as a planner requires me to work in the public interest. and the extent to which the use of these tools right now and in the future serves the public interest is one of the most important questions I think that I can work with my students in the classroom. So I want to focus for a minute on a few concerns I have when I'm working with these tools, because we've talked a lot about possibility and opportunity, but I also think we should surface some of the things I'll share with you, at least that I find challenging, and they may or may not resonate, and this is part of why we're in a room together, and it's amazing to see you all here. The first thing is the bias that's encoded in these algorithms, to me, is hugely problematic, and it warrants unpacking, it warrants learning more about, and it's also something that's really challenging to figure out. It's very strange for me as an educator to be bringing a technology tool into the classroom when I don't have a clear line of sight into how this thing is coded, right? And we know from research, not mine, although tangentially a little bit, but there are plenty of really good people like Safia Noble who have shown us that the bias in these tools has a profoundly negative impact on equity-deserving communities of people, for example, and among many. The other thing that's also really challenging is the automation of decision-making has profound life impacts on people. I'm from the Faculty of Community Services. We are in the community spirit of working together with people to try to help people to live better lives, to thrive. These tools are not helping many communities of people thrive. They are alienating them, they are ignoring them, they are removing their access to government support, among other things. These are real problems. And so when we're working with planning students, these are the kinds of things that we're talking about. As an urban planner, I am ethically charged to think about the impacts of the ways in which we live on the planet. The ecological impacts of artificial intelligence-based technology are profound and significant, and we talked about them a little bit at last year's conference. It's also important to remember when we look at the ecological impacts that the burden of these tools, for example, data centers are very water thirsty and energy hungry. They are not being shared universally across community residents. Like other forms of environmental racism, there are problems with the impacts of where these things are placed and who's being impacted, whose energy is being used, whose water is being used. So these are important things to think about. The impacts of these tools on job opportunities matters to me a lot. I worry a lot about creative fields. Who's here from the creative school? I worry about your IP, okay? It's a big, creativity and its value in our society matters a lot to me. And this is all on top of the myths and the disinformation parts of things. And so when we're working with these tools in the classroom in our school, we're trying to figure out where are the opportunities to learn and be creative with these tools, but also where do we need to be cautious and how do we figure out what to do and by when and by whom? One of the things that's interesting about Mark, how many of you Googled Mark before you came today? Did anyone see? So one of the things that, I don't know if this is on purpose or not, it was very hard to get a sense of what this talk was going to be about based on the title. There are no recorded versions. Is that on purpose? Yeah. So I wanted to kind of get a sense of what we were coming in. So I came in without any clear line of sight into what you're doing. But Mark's done some really interesting writing about how the use of these tools are going to change the way we work inside universities. In some respects, I feel like at TMU, we're really well positioned. We were never that high on our egos in the first place. I used to work, it's true, I left another institution that's within a bike ride from here because great minds for a great future didn't jazz me up. I'm being totally honest. I came in 2005 because I wanted to help build something new. I really cared about this place. I thought, wow, these students are awesome. They're so hardworking. And if we do our jobs well, we can literally help transform the lives of people in this country because there are so many people behind our learners. That really mattered to me. That was a mission that mattered to me. So I didn't come here drunk on my ego thinking I'm so smart. I'm smart enough, but that wasn't why I came. I didn't want to teach here because I wanted to stand in front of a room like I'm doing now, ironically, and talk at folks, right? I wanted to work with students, sleeves rolled up, on real problems with real people in real places. And so I think those are institutional things that we can bring to the table that are really valuable assets in a landscape that changes. The last thing I'll just say in response to Mark's talk is that one of the things that's really important to figure out is how do we be humans in the loop, which is AI language, but who are the people in the room and who are our people's in community and how are we going to work together? The diversity of our student body, the diversity of our faculty, and our institutional values are tremendous assets at a time of technological change. We are not an institution that is going to take this tool and just accept that it's going to be great. We're going to kick it around. We are going to use our good brains and the power of our students and the geographic diversity of where our students both live now and where they've come from over time, to start to see the fault lines in these tools and to understand when are they useful, but when are they dangerous, or when are they scary, or what's our line where we say, no, we can't do that. And so I think one of our institutional strategies should be taking the values that we have as communities of people committed to career-engaged, student-focused learning and trying to push these tools to see what are the limits of their both opportunity and what are the real constraints that we're confronting in real life. Because the examples that were shared today are really important, and we know that change is coming, but we need to figure out how to keep that change coming in a way that upholds values that matter to us as a community of folks. Okay, I'm done talking. Thank you.
So we were supposed to get the ball rolling with a question for Mark. So I'll go with the first one. Broad, open-ended. In light of the developments of artificial intelligence technologies, a lot of these like extraordinary examples that you've given, what do you think of, or how do you see the technology providing opportunity to sharpen the focus of the core mission of universities, the pursuit of knowledge, the advancement of human development?
You can go back to Aristotle on that one. Human flourishing, right? So universities have a huge role to play in human flourishing, and I think that's the right framework. Knowledge creation, the passing on of knowledge, we've sort of fallen into that. And again, the last 200 years, we've been really clear and almost become sort of industrialized and factory-like. And Cambridge 1,000 years ago was a very different place than Cambridge today, but they're both it's the same university. So there's probably going to be more of a return to looking inward and saying, okay, maybe our core mission isn't producing career-ready humans with a finite set of skills. Tick, 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 tick. Maybe there's a deeper purpose to universities, and maybe that's what young people will want. And so I think that's probably the direction we're going. It's still rooted in a desire to be an agent for a profoundly transformative agent for human flourishing. But I think human flourishing may look more like what Aristotle meant when he wrote about it, and less what we've sort of thought of as our role for the past 50 to 100 years.
So my question focuses on, you've written and talked a lot about ambition in your work. One of the challenges I think around AI governance that we're facing, especially in universities, is whose ambition is it, for what purposes, and to what end? And so knowing, I mean, you're the only, I think, chief AI officer in any Canadian university, right? So you've got a pretty unique vantage point. You've worked outside the university, but you also understand how weird universities are as structures to govern. How do we create an ambition that isn't only about economic profit for shareholders, for example, or for private sector company owners? How do we build a collective or a communal ambition? What's the process that we use to kind of take advantage of these tools, but also keep in mind that we're trying to create opportunities for as many folks as possible and leave as few people behind as possible?
You're asking a poor computer scientist a political science question because really
paper about rationalism. So I'm going to hold you to that. I think you're smart enough to do this.
I'll try. It's collective action, and it's going to look different in different institutions, and it's going to look different in different cultures, and it's going to look different in different disciplines, because the culture in your discipline is different than the culture in my discipline, and that's wonderful. There was a period of time about a year ago, you can go back and read on my Substack, where I was really worried about a handful of Silicon Valley companies having a stranglehold on intelligence. And so, like what if ChatGPT, every answer it gives me just nudges me 0.001% to the right? After 2 years, I look in the mirror and I'm like, I think Donald Trump's a pretty good president. And I'm unrecognizable to myself, right? I no longer worry about that, because what's clear is that intelligence is going to be ubiquitous. So we are going to live in a world where your toaster 5 years from now has an IQ of 200. Not because it's a great idea to give a toaster an IQ of 200, but it will turn out the cheapest way to make a really good toaster is to take an AI chip and just attach two induction heaters to it. And it'll have opinions on your toast. You know, like, Mark, I don't like this new brand of toast you're buying. It's really hard for me not to burn it. And so if you don't like your toaster's opinion on your philosophical musings of the day, you can just ask your espresso machine, which also has an opinion about your beans. So there's going to be intelligence everywhere. And the move for open source AI is essential, because that allows each community to say, okay, we're going to share the same base intelligence that everybody else has, but we're going to fine tune it with our values so that it reflects our values instead of Northern California corporate values.
Okay, I'm going to take your toast example, just take it a little bit further. So, because I think it's a practical thing. So the toaster doesn't like the way I make toast, maybe because my sourdough bread's not that great, but I like it. So then my toaster's like, well, don't make your own bread. Go buy this industrial bread, which is from an industrial food related process, which then has a change in the way in which we eat, but also the ways in which we grow things and the way in which we consume things. How do we, I mean, it's overwhelming to think about that level of incremental change and nudging towards processes of optimization across all processes of our life. And I'll just say, like, as a planner, like, I'm not like carrying the flag for inefficiency, but I will tell you, you do not want urban planners to optimize where you live, because it's going to suck. Okay, the communities that are optimized, maybe your car will run faster, but they will not be livable. Our most vibrant communities, think about Kensington Market. There is no algorithm in the world that would ever make Kensington Market. Okay, it's amazing because people are going to people, right? And so there's this tension between optimization and us wanting to be real humans. And so how do we hold on to our humanity? What role do we play as university folks in creating new generations of people who have the critical thinking skills to keep humanity together?
Exactly that. And this gets back to the question about how do we stop students from cheating using AI? It's a values question. It is fundamentally, you know, if you go to the gym 3 times a week and watch a robot work out, you're not going to be surprised that you're not fit at the end. But if you have ChatGPT write your essays for you, it can, and it's only going to get better, and you've robbed yourself of an education. So this goes all the way back to kindergarten. It is teaching people this is a really powerful technology, and if you want to cheat yourself of a rich life, you can do it. No one will be able to stop you. But is that the life you want to live?
I'm going to interrupt us right there, because I think we could continue on with the toast conversation for a while. We want to be sure that we've got about 10-ish minutes left. So we want to be sure we take questions from the room. And I also want to invite folks who are joining us online, of which we have about 90, to pose any questions that they might have as well. And I'm monitoring them up here. So Sean, would you like to run around with the microphone, or Pam with the microphone that you've got, and just, we can go right here in the front.
All right, so I'm Jen MacArthur. Question for you about using AI in research. We have this fleet of super intelligent geniuses who are going to leak all of our data results and insights to everybody else, right? Is there any way that we can actually protect ourselves against that? Like we do have Gemini as professors. Having played with it, it sucks compared to some of the other stuff out there. So I'm just curious, kind of, is there a way around that we can actually be intelligent about using it without compromising on our own novelty and IP?
Yeah, so it's always going to be a risk. The easy answer is use a cloud provider that your institution has a privacy agreement with and a data sharing agreement with. That doesn't mean they won't steal your ideas, but at least you have legal recourse, right? You can seek a remedy in that case. If you use ChatGPT and you don't have ChatGPT Edu, the click-through license basically says, yeah, too bad if we accidentally steal your IP, sorry. If you're really serious about it, then you need an on-prem, controlled by your university, secured, and that securing part is hard, environment. And that's always going to be a step behind, at least at this moment in time, the frontier models available from the commercial providers, but it's getting better and better with each passing day. So you could do that.
Great, thank you.
Right here in the front, we've got a microphone.
Hi there, I'm Lori Beckstead and I'm from the RTA School of Media. And you've left your presentation wide open with some great questions that we all need to contemplate. But we all bothered to get out of bed and come here today because we really care about teaching and learning, right? We're all teachers. So I want to turn your question back on you and say, what can or should a teacher do with an army of genius assistants to improve teaching, learning, and assessment?
I don't think there's a one size fits all answer. There's a lot of ed tech providers that will tell you, just buy my software and your world will be so much better. It's totally discipline specific. So if I'm a music performance major and I have a robot play my final jury for me, I've probably missed the point of being a music performance major. But if I'm a philosophy major and I write an essay on the work of Dan Dennett, Dan has passed, sadly, so I can't have Dennett himself critique it, but I can ask one of the frontier models, and Anthropic's Claude is actually really good at this. Assume the persona of Dan Dennett and respond to my essay. And it will rip your essay up, and it's like Dan's right there in the room. It's fantastic. And so that's a profoundly positive use of that technology to self-critique in a way I can't, because like, oh, it's my essay. It's brilliant. I think it's a great idea. Okay, be simulated Dan Dennett and attack my essay, and like, oh, now I have a lot more to think about. So it's totally discipline specific, but it goes back again to the question of values. As you're using the AI, what you want to train young people is well, everyone is to ask the question, am I using this as a tool to make myself better, to get a step closer towards the person I want to be? Or am I using this as an off-ramp? And it sounds so easy when you say it, but when you're 19 and your friends are going out tonight and the essay's due tomorrow, well, maybe just this one time.
So I'll just offer a question from online. So speaking a little bit to this piece around human capacity, the question is, playing a game is not only about who is the winner, but also about the buildup of a relationship. And so does the development of AI, from your perspective, lose a dimension of our life? Is it only about winning? Is it only about profit, and only about who is right and wrong?
I'm going to use chess as an example here. So machines have been better than humans at chess since the mid 1990s, right? Deep Blue. And the media headline when Deep Blue beat Kasparov was like, humans will never play chess again. Chess is over. And yet my Gen Z kids and their friends play chess with each other. They don't play chess against a machine on their phone. The machine could crush all of them. They play chess with like an actual board and physical pieces. And the rise in interest in chess amongst Gen Z is going like this. And so that's exactly right. The playing of a game with another human is about collaboration and interaction with another human. And that's what actually matters. It's not the rules. It's not who wins. It is the act of participating in a shared activity.
So redefining how we're assessing the value propositions of certain activities we take. I see a microphone up there, and then do we have both mics out? Okay, great.
Okay.
Actually, maybe we'll take both questions, not because they're going to be related, but we'll just get through more folks at one time.
Okay, sure. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for such a lovely presentation and this lovely panel discussion. My name is Svetlana. So I basically have two questions, like one is a short one. So like you are saying that AI will eventually take all the jobs, no matter from what field you are in, or maybe imitate the human emotions, empathy, and stuff like that. So do you think there is any particular one human ability specific that AI will never be able to like imitate? And if in case AI gets to imitate everything and takes all the jobs, then how do you envision the society functioning economically, socially, in a world that employment is no longer necessary for its survival? So yeah.
We'll take the second question as well, because that's
It's okay. It works. It piggybacks. Because my question is, there's just so much out there. How do you stay on top of your field? And then how should we stay on top of ours? Just in terms of what's coming out.
Okay. To the first set of questions, AI isn't going to take all the jobs. That was the CEO of Fiverr trying to motivate his staff. That's not me. Where I think jobs are disruptible are places where we didn't expect it, which are narrow, high skill verticals. I am an IP lawyer specializing in entertainment law in this particular, those things are going to be, traditionally we thought that's really safe, but actually no, those are the things that are going to get disrupted. What machines will not be able to disrupt on a human time scale are the fact that I much prefer breaking bread with other humans to eating lunch at my laptop. That's not, because evolution conditioned me, like it matters to belong to a group and to interact with other humans. And so I can't undo evolutionary psychology, even if I wanted to. Anything that requires collective action, politics, like small p politics, but also capital P politics, anything you want to do that is bigger than yourself will require getting other humans on board and organizing other humans. So the soft skills that we have sort of like put like, oh yeah, that's just soft skills. Really what we're going to do, you're going to learn calculus. That's the hard stuff. No, it turns out calculus is easy to outsource. Soft skills, we're not going to outsource those to machines anytime soon. So there's going to be a huge role for humans, and we should be spending more time on soft skills and teaching soft skills. How do I stay on top of my field? I don't. The best tools I have right now are some good newsletters, following some good colleagues on Blue Sky or whatever networks they're on, and using recent AI models. So Gemini has been terrible, but the latest version 2.5 Pro is actually pretty good. And OpenAI's O3 model, when you can get it to go and do web searches and give you references, is good. If it doesn't give you references, it actually hallucinates more than 4.0, which is a weird observation, but there it is. So any of the reasoning models that have search attached and you can tell it you have to ground your answers in fact, those are really, really useful to me.
Esther has said we can take one more question. Does that feel? Just one more question from the room. There's nothing else online. So we've got one hand in the back corner. And Mark will be sticking around maybe just during this next break for the next 10, 15 minutes. As you're moving to your next session, you could try to corner him and get him to answer all your questions for you.
Thank you. This is in response to, you were talking about, do students really want to learn that way where it's just using ChatGPT or whatever to do all their homework? But how do we incentivize them to actually come to university to learn how to learn, not just to get an A so that they can get into the postgraduate program that they need? Because a lot of them, they're not learning. They're just trying to get the best mark that they possibly can because they want to go to med school.
Yeah. I see you've taught first-year biology. So yeah, and this is also true in the research space where it's all about publishing papers and getting more citations, getting more grant dollars. And Josh's observation on his Substack after getting that paper published in Economics Letters was the whole P&T system is screwed because the incentives have been toxic forever, but nothing has happened that collapses them. And it's the same thing for the kids. Like, I just need my 95 and a high MCAT score so I can go to med school, because I'm not here to learn, I'm here to go to med school. Toxic incentives generate toxic behavior, full stop, like behavioral economics 101. We are institutions littered with toxic incentives, and we haven't been called out on them because they haven't been pushed to the breaking point. And guess what? Technology transition now is pushing those incentives to the breaking point on the research side and on the teaching side. How do you fix it? You change the incentives. For me, that means in a classroom, I'm never lecturing. The students can learn with their personalized tutor that knows them. They can interact with it however they want. It becomes more like a biz school classroom. You show up and we talk, because that's something AI can't do, is have a conversation amongst human peers. And it means your classes need to be smaller, which means they're more expensive to deliver, I know. But students aren't going to sit through a 1,000 person lecture when they know they have a one-on-one tutor who can do it for them. So that demand is going to be present from the key stakeholder.